All right. Today's word we'll find it from the book of Jeremiah, Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. It says, "For I know the thoughts and plans that I have of you, says the Lord, thoughts and plans for welfare and peace, and not for evil, to give you hope in your final outcome." I think these words are words that we know very well, but I think I want us to just look at two things in this 3 minutes that we have. One, the writer of these words, Jeremiah, when he writes these words, he is in Jerusalem, and he's writing to people who are in Babylon. Now, these people that he was writing to, they were captives in Babylon. In other words, they were slaves in Babylon. So the life of a slave at that time, it was very bad, because it meant that you did not have rights. The master can do anything that he wants to do with you. In fact, when you look at the background of it, you find that because they were slaves, they were living lives of being treated less than dogs. So when Jeremiah is writing these words, he's writing to people who have lost hope. He's writing to people who are frustrated. He's writing to people who don't see a better life for themselves. And when he writes these words, he is given this message by God that write these words to my children who are in Babylon, that I know the plans that they have. And one author says that when they had received these words, when they had listened to these words, when someone read these words to them that God has better plans for us, although we are slaves, it says it started giving them hope. Now, the problems were still there. They were slaves. But now, this time around, they were slaves with hope. And it says that after hearing these words, it gave them so much more to do. In other words, as much as they were slaves, but after hearing these words, they started living as people of hope. And goes to an extent, when you look at the previous chapters, before these words, there were people who were always complaining. There were people who were always wondering, when will this misery end? There were people who always just wanted to give up. But after receiving these words, this letter of chapter 29, it said they started doing more than before. In other words, yes, they are slaves, but because now they know that God has better plans for them, they started doing more. They started looking at themselves with hope. They started motivating each other because they knew that God has a better plan for their final outcome. And I think it's also the same situation that at times we are in. Whatever problems that we find ourselves, it is always comforting to know that God has better plans for us. At times we go through the loss of parents. At times we go through the loss of finances. At times we go through whatever depression situation we find ourselves in. I think the words we can use today is to understand that God, even in those times, He still has plans for us. He still has hope for us. And one thing that you learn to understand is that God is never determined by location to give a blessing. Yes. Whatever location we find ourselves in, He can still give a blessing. They were in Babylon. Babylon is a place where God is not worshipped at that time. It is a place where other gods are being worshipped. When you look at the class, they were the lowest class in that. Their location was not a normal situation, but God still finds them. So I think we also need to understand that whatever problems we find ourselves in, whatever location we find ourselves in, whether it's depression, whether it is financial issues, whether it is a loss of parents, whatever painful matter we are in, God can still find us. Yes. And when He finds us, He will still be able to use us. Now, I like the fact that after they heard this promise of God, they started doing more. In other words, there were things that they were doing before they heard these words, but after hearing these words, they started doing more. And I think it's also, as much as we are in this situation that we are in the country, as much as we are facing different problems, but understanding these words is that we need to do more. We need to live as people of hope. I think it is, we get to understand that in times like this, we are still our brother's keepers. Whatever we can share with others, we must still share it because we are in God's plan. If we were still continuing as people who are losing hope, let us pick up our hope once again because God has promised us. In fact, when it ends, it uses two terms. It says three words. It uses the three words, says your final outcome. In other words, what the situation that we are in now is not the final outcome. Yes. God is still proclaiming that there is going to be a final outcome. Now, it simply means that He simply says to them, as much as we are slaves now, but I will free you from Babylon and I will give you a better outcome. I will give you a final outcome. And if you can continue with the book of Jeremiah, you find that really God did save them. He took them and He put them back once again in Jerusalem. And I think when one thing that we should understand as Christians is that God does not perform blessings when He's coming back for the second time, but He's performing blessing whilst we are still living.
Yes.
I think at times as Christians we are always feeling sorry for ourselves, as if things will never get better, as if we'll continue living a life of misery. But that is not true. Whilst we are still living, God continuously gives us to be blessing. So whatever situation we find ourselves in, we get to understand that it's not our final outcome. We are yet to have a final outcome whilst we are still living. God is still gonna bless us whilst we are still living. The problems that we are facing now, they will not be there forever, but God will still give us a final outcome. So I hope that these words to myself and to everyone else, it can be the words that can renew our hope in Him. It can renew our dreams into Him. You know, when you're going through a difficult time and you feel like just giving up even the thing that you were doing. But this word simply says that whatever project you were busy with, whatever dream you were chasing, whatever, even if it was school, whatever, anything you were doing, but if you have felt that you were dismotivated, it is the right time now in this situation to pick up and do it all over again, to do more because of these words, because we understand that we serve a God who does deliver whilst we are still living. We serve a God who does deliver and who keeps up onto His promise. So those last three words that says your final outcome, it simply gives us this comfort that whatever problem we are facing now is not our final outcome. God is here to deliver our final outcome. So may these words continue blessing us and find encouragement unto them. Amen.
Amen. Does anyone have any comments? Actually, do you have any comments? Because I did not take as anyone because you was the one speaking. Do you have any comment?
Yes, the comment that I have, it was to actually say, you know, God is always having a perfect word for each and every season of our lives. Because especially right now that as a country we are in distress, we're actually going through the most. We don't know what will our tomorrow be. But the joy of knowing that God did it for the Israelites back then gives us hope that God is actually going to do it even for us now. It might not be promising today, but since God did it yesterday, if God did it centuries of years ago, gives us hope that God will do it again for us. And so I just want to say, let us not give up, because the journey does not end here. Let us not give up. Let us pick up our socks and carry on with the journey, because there are greater things that God has for us in store. And if we give up today, we might not end up getting on the shore. Yeah, I think that was my comment.
Let me say my comment and then we can close. So I like verse 12 actually, when it says, then you call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I think the key points for me there is that I will listen to you, number one. So it's just a reminder that your prayers, God listens to them. Like, just call unto Him and He will listen at all times. And then He says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. So I think there's a verse in the Bible, in the 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7, it says, God doesn't look at the outer appearance, He looks at the heart. So you need to fix your heart in order to be able to call unto Him so He could hear you, so He could listen. So that's all I have to say. And put song is new, because song is about Shumayelap. But okay, guys, that is how we open the Sabbath. I just want to say thank you, Brother Tsotso, Mr. Tsotso. We just want to say thank you for sharing the word. I hope all these words will bless you. And until we meet again, I don't know if they want to say goodbye. So guys, until we meet again, please do subscribe. Have a blessed Sabbath, have a blessed weekend, and know that God is always there at all times. Bye.